What happens when desperation meets opportunity and creates the most explosive trade scenario the league has ever witnessed? Buckle up, basketball fanatics, because we're about to dive into a trade proposal so audacious, so earth-shattering, that it could fundamentally reshape the entire NBA landscape overnight. We're talking about a 4-team mega deal that would send Giannis Antetokounmpo to Golden State, create a new Lakers frontcourt, and potentially trigger the most dramatic championship chase in recent memory. But here's the kicker. This isn't just fantasy basketball fodder. The stars are aligning in ways that make this seemingly impossible scenario feel disturbingly realistic. Let's start with the harsh reality facing Milwaukee right now. 3 consecutive first-round playoff exits, 3 years of watching a generational talent like Giannis carry a franchise that simply cannot get out of its own way. The Bucks haven't advanced past the second round since their championship run in 2021, and that championship window isn't just closing, it's slamming shut with each passing season. Giannis Antetokounmpo is 30 years old, still posting MVP-caliber numbers with 30.4 points, 11.9 rebounds, and 6.5 assists per game on an otherworldly 60.1% shooting from the field. This isn't a player in decline. This is a superstar watching his prime years evaporate while his supporting cast fails him repeatedly. The whispers are getting louder in Milwaukee. Front office meetings are getting more tense. And when ESPN's Zach Cram proposes a trade scenario this detailed, you know the conversations are happening behind closed doors. The 4-team chess match here's how this nuclear-level trade would break down. Golden State Warriors receive. Giannis Antetokounmpo Los Angeles Lakers receive. Draymond Green, Daniel Gafford Dallas Mavericks receive. Gabe Vincent, 2031 first-round pick, 2025 second-round pick Milwaukee Bucks receive. Austin Reeves, Brandon Podziemski, Jonathan Kuminga, Tracy Jackson-Davis, Maxi Kleber, plus a treasure trove of future first-round picks and swaps at first glance. This looks like organized chaos, but dig deeper, and you'll see the beautiful complexity of how 4 desperate franchises could solve their biggest problems in one fell swoop. Golden State's all-in gamble, the Warriors are facing an uncomfortable truth. Stephen Curry's championship window is narrowing by the day. Sure, they added Jimmy Butler, and yes, they still have pieces around their legendary point guard, but they need one more superstar to make another legitimate championship run. Trading away their young core, including Kuminga, Podziemski, and Jackson-Davis, plus multiple first-round picks would be the ultimate win-now move. But imagine the possibilities. Curry's playmaking genius feeding Giannis in transition, Butler's defensive intensity complementing Giannis's rim protection, and the Greek Freak's versatility solving every spacing issue Golden State has faced in recent years. This would create arguably the most talented Big Three since the Miami Heat's LeBron Wade Bosh era. The Warriors would essentially be betting their entire future on 2 to 3 years of championship or bust basketball. The Lakers' smart pivot meanwhile, Los Angeles would be making perhaps the most underrated move in this entire scenario. By acquiring Draymond Green and Daniel Gafford, they'd be addressing their 2 biggest weaknesses: perimeter defense and interior presence. Green brings championship pedigree, elite defensive IQ, and the kind of fiery leadership that complements LeBron James perfectly. Gafford gives them a legitimate rim runner who's already proven he can excel alongside elite playmakers like Luka Doncic. Yes, they'd be losing Austin Reeves, who's become a fan favorite and solid contributor. But sometimes you have to sacrifice good to achieve great, and this Lakers team desperately needs defensive identity more than another offensive weapon. Dallas and Milwaukee's respective rebuilds, the Mavericks, would be making a subtle but intelligent move, trading from their position of strength at center to add future assets and point guard depth. With Kyrie Irving's injury history, having Gabe Vincent as insurance makes perfect sense, and that 2031 first-round pick could be valuable depending on how the Lakers age. But it's Milwaukee's haul that really tells the story of this trade. Austin Reeves has proven he can perform on the biggest stages. Brandon Podziemski showed flashes of brilliance in his rookie season. Jonathan Kuminga, despite his inconsistencies, still has all-star potential at just 22 years old. The Bucks would essentially be fast-tracking their rebuild while still maintaining some level of competitiveness. It's not the sexy move that keeps fans happy in the short term, but it might be the smart move that sets them up for sustained success. The Kuminga subplot. Speaking of Kuminga, his trade value has never been more complicated. After a breakout 2023-24 season, where he averaged 16.1 points per game on exceptional shooting, he took a significant step backward this past year. Injuries limited him to just 47 games, his shooting percentages dropped across the board, and he even found himself benched during crucial playoff moments. But here's what makes the Chicago Bulls connection so intriguing. They're exactly the kind of franchise that could unlock Kuminga's potential. With less pressure and more opportunity, he could rediscover the form that made him look like a future star just 2 seasons ago. The proposed 3-team deal involving the Bulls and Hornets, sending Kuminga to Chicago while bringing Lonzo Ball to Golden State, adds another layer to this complicated web of transactions. The health wild card. Any discussion of Lonzo Ball has to acknowledge the elephant in the room, his health. Missing entire seasons due to knee issues, sitting out over 1,000 days between NBA appearances and managing chronic injuries throughout his career make Ball one of the biggest question marks in any trade scenario. But when he's healthy, Ball brings exactly what championship teams need: elite perimeter defense, unselfish playmaking, and catch-and-shoot reliability. His 7.6 points, 3.4 rebounds, and 3.3 assists in limited minutes this past season showed he can still contribute at a high level. For a Warriors team that would be all in on winning now, Ball's upside might be worth the injury risk, especially if they're already committed to sacrificing depth for star power. The championship implications. Let's be honest about what this trade would mean for the NBA landscape. It would create one legitimate super team while strengthening several other contenders in different ways. A Warriors team featuring Curry, Giannis, and Butler would immediately become the championship favorite, assuming they could figure out the chemistry and role definitions. But they'd also be incredibly vulnerable to injuries, with virtually no depth behind their stars. The Lakers would become a much more well-rounded team, potentially dangerous enough to make noise in the Western Conference playoffs. Dallas would maintain their competitiveness while adding future flexibility. And Milwaukee would begin a proper rebuild around young talent and draft assets. The reality check. As tantalizing as these scenarios sound, we have to acknowledge the practical obstacles. Salary cap mathematics alone make these deals incredibly complex. Player preferences, no trade clauses, and team chemistry concerns could derail any of these proposals. But the fact that legitimate basketball analysts are putting these ideas on paper tells us something important. The current state of these franchises has created a perfect storm for dramatic change. The bottom line, whether these specific trades happen or not, the underlying tensions they represent are very real. Giannis's patience with Milwaukee's limitations, Golden State's urgency to maximize Curry's remaining prime years, and the general arms race mentality throughout the league create conditions where blockbuster moves become not just possible, but necessary. The NBA has always been a star-driven league, but we're entering an era where the movement of superstars happens faster and more frequently than ever before. These trade proposals might seem far-fetched today, but they could look prophetic by next season. What's your take on these wild trade scenarios? Do you think the Warriors should mortgage their future for one more championship run with Giannis? Or would you rather see these young players develop naturally? And honestly, which of these proposed deals do you think has the best chance of actually happening? Jump into the comments and let me know your thoughts. I love hearing different perspectives on these complex situations, and your insights always make these discussions even better. If this breakdown got your basketball mind racing with possibilities, smash that like button, and let's keep exploring the craziest scenarios this league has to offer.